Our next guest, the former referee Jeff Winter, a very good friend of the show. Good evening, Jeff.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Evening, Jeff.
And I was just going to put that question to you. I mean, the trial's obviously very promising, very heartening, but can you see a scenario where lots of clubs start saying, well, you've got it for goal line technology, you've got the goal line technology for that kind of situation. What about for offside? What about to tell us if players are acting up, kicking and biting and pulling and punching and whatever else in other areas of the pitch?
I think it's as sure as night follows day. I'm not so sure the clubs, but certainly the pundits, certainly managers on the back of an adverse result. Goal line technology, I don't know what I'm going to talk about ever since I finished refereeing. If I had £1 for every time I've talked about goal line technology, I think I'd be a millionaire now. But thankfully, we seem as if we're near the finishing line. That's going to be brought in and everyone's going to be happy. But I'm sure it will open a can of worms, because when that works, people will then start saying, yeah, but what about offsides? What about diving? What was it, a handball? I just hope and pray that that never ever comes into football, because I think it will kill the game that we love. The thing about all those other decisions is the matters of opinion. Whether a goal has been scored isn't an opinion, it is factual.
Yeah.
And the assistant referees, I mean, the guy who got it right at Wembley at the weekend, he'll be getting plaudits for getting it right. He was lucky. The man who got it wrong the week before was unlucky. When we're talking about inches and you're 40 yards away, you can never be 100% certain in your own mind in that speed. But, was it a handball? Come midnight, match of the day, Sky, any other broadcaster, people are still arguing, was it a penalty, wasn't it a penalty? And just passing the buck onto someone pitch side or in the stand with a bank of cameras. On some occasions, it isn't going to be a quick decision, and on many occasions, you're not going to be able to come to 100% correct decision.
But
so
Jeff,
get goal line technology in and hopefully leave it at that.
Jeff, isn't part of the whole mystique of football that we like to be able to sit over a pint or over a bit of dinner and argue over whether there was a handball, whether a ball did cross the line? I mean, people have been debating that for 50 years, since 1966.
The great thing about football, you can be the chief executive, the owner of Manchester City.
Exactly.
You can be a 10-year-old kid. It doesn't matter. The great thing about football is that we're all experts and we're all entitled to an opinion. And, you imagine that pint in the pub, Darren, after the game, when we've had a sanitised game of football that's probably gone on for about 3 hours with all the stops and starts. There's going to be nothing left to talk about.
Exactly.
It's not all about arguments. Sometimes, you learn by listening to other people's point of view, and fans are fanatical. It doesn't really matter whether technology says it was a penalty or it wasn't a penalty. If you're the supporter of a team that had a penalty given against you, you're still going to say it was the wrong decision. So, I think things have got to be left to human error. Games of football are decided in the main by human error rather than, brilliant skill.
Jeff.
And why should referees be any different?
Yeah, Jeff, I totally agree with you. I was just thinking, though, I heard, listening to Kenny Hibbert the other day saying that action replays need to be gotten rid of. And I went to a game the other day. I won't say it was where it was, but when an incident happened involving the home team, they showed it up on the pitch. When something close happened to the away team, they didn't show it up on the pitch. So I think the important thing is that we have goal line technology, but in some respects we take some technology away from the ground. We don't have any screens where the fourth official, it can see it, and where the
so
two managers.
The big screen. When there was an incident, they showed it on the big screen.
I think take the big screens out of the ground. You've got to watch a live game. If you want to watch it on telly, stay at home, watch it on telly. Take the screens away from managers. Take all that technology away, but we'll have technology on the pitch, in goal line technology, and nowhere else on the pitch. Yeah, you can watch it at home, watch your action replays as much as possible, but while that game is going on live, it is live, and you let it go to an end, and then the pundits and other people come in and then start to debate it then.
Jeff?
What do you think?
I think you're 100% right, because unfortunately, the creatures that watch football appear to be different to the people that watch tennis, rugby, and cricket. I'll give you one. the first game of the season after I retired, Middlesbrough played Newcastle at the Riverside, and Middlesbrough got a 2-2 draw with a goal by Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank with virtually the last play of the game. And we, as Middlesbrough fans, were all delighted. The Newcastle fans were at the other end of the pitch. Nothing said. You know, they were obviously narked that they'd lost 2 points. After the game, I started getting texts from people saying that they'd been watching it on the television and Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank had actually handled that ball into the net. Now, if that had been shown on a big screen, or there'd been a delay like we have in rugby, and it had been announced no goal, I think Cleveland Police would have been running for the hills.
Yes, absolutely.
I know we can laugh and joke about it,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, things like that, because of the atmosphere at football games, because of the passion that is at football games, I think that could possibly cause more problems than you know, any problems that it would solve.
Yeah.
And I just think, you know, it's a great game. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. There are certain things in football that if the authorities really wanted to clean up the game and make it a better spectacle, then instead of reviewing every decision that's been made, they should be doing something about the diving. They should be doing something about the tugging and holding in penalty areas. You know, they should be doing something about independent timekeeping, so that, you know, everyone in the ground isn't left guessing when the referee's going to blow his full-time whistle. But, you know, the day that we take decisions on the field of play to another man, and you know, I know time is of an essence, but I think I spoke on another of your programs. I was actually involved in an experiment a couple of years ago, Manchester City versus Chelsea. ESPN were covering the game, and I sat outside the ground in one of their vans with all the banks of cameras, and when there was a contentious decision in the game, I had to look at these different angles and make a decision. And they were looking for the timing, whether it was 2 seconds, whether it was 2 minutes. But I can tell you something, as a referee, you make a decision on what you see there and then. If you're that extra referee, imagine if you get it wrong, what the press, what the media, what everyone's going to say about. And, you know, I kept looking and looking and looking at the screen, more or less to convince myself 100% that I was right. And that took much, much longer than everybody says, well, it'll be done in a few seconds. Well, match of the day's on sort of 6-7 hours after games are finished. And still the pundits don't agree whether it was a penalty or it wasn't a penalty.
Right.
That extra referee making that decision, I think, you know, it could cause more problems than enough.
And I think you're right. I think you're right, Jeff, in so much as that we were watching, you may have been seeing on your screens while Jeff was talking, there were a few pictures of recent goal line controversies, and we saw the one from last weekend where Andy Carroll's ball did it or did it not cross the line in the game against Chelsea, and ITV's cameras and Sky Sports cameras who were watching the game, it was inconclusive. So as Jeff was saying, sometimes you can have TV cameras at a game, doesn't necessarily mean that they'll get it right.
Just stay ahead of the game with Sports Tonight Live. Don't miss a thing. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Search for Sports Tonight Live on Facebook and like our fan page. Follow Sports Tonight TV on Twitter and tweet us your thoughts and opinions. Sports Tonight Live, it's the platform for the fans.